and that was Whitney Houston and I Will Always Love You. And I've got Daniel Wood in the studio with me, and we've been talking off air about his self-publishing and publishing deals. And Daniel, I know you had quite a few experiences, and I know from personal experience how difficult the old self-publishing thing can be.
Yeah, definitely.
But you've actually come out of it in the end with a deal that you're quite happy with and is working for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after so many rejections and so many offers from vanity publishers, this one from I was offered by the Artemis Publishers,
yes,
who in the end agreed to say, yeah, we'll do it. They were, what I was so pleased about, having dealt with them, was that they were upfront, honest. We were in constant communications and talks since they first offered me the contract back in February 2011.
Yeah.
I was in talks with their publishing marketing department via email, and it was like, okay, it sounds all good, but I do have a few concerns, a few worries. So I told them what they was, and they replied back to me and just didn't lie to me or muck around with me or anything. They were just completely honest up front, told me what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, and they kept their word. It's as simple as that. And they were just great. Every time that I needed to do a book signing and needed to get word out, they would help me. They gave me marketing material like posters and flyers. Yeah. Just great publishers to deal with, are Artemis.
Oh, great. And I'm presuming you've got quite a few tales of ones that you thought about dealing with and then had second thoughts.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those out there.
Oh, there are, yes, there are. But to try and limit the dirty laundry to as little as possible, because we are actually on air.
Yeah.
The first time I dealt with a publisher who was prepared to publish for Saviour.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, this is great, and they were giving me real rave reviews, and I said, oh, this is awesome, this reminds me of Frank Kafka and stuff like that, you've got a real flair for words. And me being young and naive and inexperienced, it was like, oh wow, I can't believe it, it's finally going to happen to me, I can't believe it. And then I was told about vanity publishers, and they wanted an extortionate amount of money up front for the first quarter, then the second quarter and the third quarter, and then after waking up and having been informed of what vanity publishers were like, it was like, right, okay, so they're going to end up with loads of being richer by loads of grand or whatever, and I'm left in the curb with only a book on the with only a book available for sale online for about 5 copies or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's a tricky thing, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to keep on talking about this. Be back with Dan Wood in a couple of minutes.
Beartown Radio.
Yes, it's Beartown Radio. It's just after 12:20, and I'm with Daniel Wood, and we've been talking about his book, The Saviour. And what we've been talking about is Dan first decided he was going to self-publish after quite a lot of the normal rejection and stuff that you get as a writer. And so you decided to go down the self-publishing route, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, I did. It was, in the end, what it was, I was thinking, right, no one's going to give me a chance at this stage. So I thought, right, the only way I can try and get noticed, really, is to make a load of noise about it myself.
Yeah.
And what I did first, I wrote my audiobook and performed that, which I'll tell you about later on.
Okay.
For self-publishing, I heard of something called Lulu.com.
Yes.
And this is a legit website. It's not dedicated to the person Lulu. It's its own independent self-publishing website. And quite a few people have used this in the past. G.P. Taylor, who wrote Shadowmancer, was one of these people.
Lulu's quite a big platform for publishing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, okay, well, it worked for G.P. Taylor. He got noticed in the end. Who else did? Edgar Allan Poe. He self-published first before he
This is very true.
Yep.
In fact, in the old days, in the early days, a lot of novels, famous novels now, were self-published.
Yeah, definitely. And Rudyard Kipling, who wrote The Jungle Book, he was another one as well.
Yeah.
I thought, right, okay, they achieved great things because they self-published first and made themselves get noticed. So I thought, right, that's what I'll do. I self-published The Saviour. And
when was that?
That was in, I think it might have been February 2010, I think. It was just in time for my 25th birthday. So, 25th birthday in April, but managed to get a bit of a heads up and had me a great big launch on my 25th birthday itself at Room at the Top, which is that great cafe at Victoria Mill. Great place. And marketed it, promoted it as much as I could online. Then also did it for a year, and the plan was to I had to divide the book into two parts, because of self-publishing costs and marketing and font size, etc. All that jargon
and all that technical stuff. And there is a surprising amount of technical stuff, I know.
Oh, there is.
It really does get to you after a while. All that technical stuff.
It's difficult to sort out, but it's a lot of things that you just don't anticipate. And you don't I know.
Think you're
it's
have
just
to do,
you think it's going to be straightforward, but
it isn't.
No, but. Dear, but you got to plough on through it. Anyway, long story short, the plan was I had to divide the book into two. So I released book one, self-published it in February 2010. Or it might have been January, I can't remember. And then it was right, okay, I'll make as much of a success as the first book that I can, leave all the readers and people out there desperate for book two. So that way I could make it more of a success. And it was a year after having published the first book one, that I was thinking, right, okay, I'll get book two on the horizon. And then I got a letter from Artemis Publishers who said they were seeking out talent. Do I have anything to offer them? So I replied back to them, told them about my book, and they said, sounds interesting. Can we can we see some samplers and the synopsis? And the rest was pretty much history.
All right. So when it actually sort of happened, it happened fairly easily, which is in direct contrast to everything that goes before is so difficult. But when the right thing comes along for you, it was fairly straightforward. But there's an awful lot of hard work goes into getting to that point, doesn't it?
The thing is, loads of people are prepared to say that, I know, I'll write a book and then I'll get it published and I'll make loads of millions and millions of pounds. And it doesn't always work like that.
It's not quite as straightforward.
It's not as straightforward as that. Despite the success of, say, J.K. Rowling, Dan Brown, or whoever, you can't really take this sort of thing for granted. I mean, in the case of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter got rejected so many times.
This is very true.
And she was still working at Tesco's, trying to get money sorted out, trying to keep her going until her career, her literary career, took off. And I'm the same right now. We're trying to get even though despite the Saviour's success, I still want to get it to the mainstream level. And of course, I'm going to do it while still wearing my Smiths uniform. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's quite right. Now I know you've actually done book signings, haven't you?
I have indeed, yes.
And how was that? Was it scary or was it fun?
It was both, really. I mean, I remember the first time. It was shortly after The Saviour had been published by Artemis. It opened up so many doors. When it was self-published, I couldn't get proper ISBN registration. It did have an ISBN number for self-published version, but unfortunately, I couldn't properly get book signings or get it into shops because of some technical glitch or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of a package deal that I bought with Lulu for some strange reason. But anyway, long story short, once I self-published with Artemis, it opened up so many new doors, and I was able to get supplied by Gardener's Books, who are the main suppliers for UK bookshops across the country, including W.H. Smith's.
Okay.
So it was great that in November, Bonfire Night, in 2011, I was able to do a book signing at W.H. Smith's in Macclesfield, which is where I worked. That was a really great honour. 20 books were sent to that store, and I managed to sell 12 on the day.
That's not bad.
Which was very good going. I was really pleased with that.
Yeah.
People that I knew, family and friends, came over to chat and buy books. People I hadn't seen in years from college days came in to say hello, good to see you, hadn't bought a book, and people I didn't even know were interested in that. So it was a great positive experience. I got featured in the Congleton Chronicle, the Mac Express. I ended up doing another book signing in Waterstones in Macclesfield, and Waterstones in Hanley, and Congleton Smiths as well. And it's just been amazing. It's just blown me away.
Wow, that's all come fairly quickly. Once it all started to happen, it started to happen fairly quickly. Then,
fairly quickly, yeah. But there was still some work that I needed to do. I mean, obviously, it's not going to fly off the shelves by itself. I had to get word out. I had to tell people about this on my website, on my Facebook page, and it was also a case of still carrying on writing. And the key thing. And I would say this to anyone and everyone who's even thinking of picking up a pen or going on their laptop and writing a book, writing a story. If you're going to write a book, if you're going to write a story or even write a poem, don't do it for the sake of just hopes of making millions of quid, because that's a terrible attitude to have. If you're going to write a story or Amazon, have fun whilst writing it. I mean, I loved every moment writing The Saviour, and I feel the same way now whenever I'm writing a poem or writing a review. If you're having fun writing it, if you're loving the characters that you write, if you're liking the stories that you write, or telling people about this, that, or the other, then the odds are everyone else is going to have fun reading what you've written.
And I think that's spot on, Dan. If you set out thinking that you're going to make $1 million, the chances are you may, but the chances are is you're not.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it because you love it, and I know from personal experience, I write because I love words and I love playing with words.
Definitely.
And I just love the feeling that, I can write something, and it took a long time to get to this stage, but I can actually write something and think, yeah, I'm actually quite proud of that. I think that's really good.
And you should be, mate. Everyone should be.
And when you get to that stage and you're doing it because you actually love it, the whole thing about getting paid for it seems to... Yeah, you would still like to be paid for it. You'd still like to make some money off it, but it's not the most important thing anymore.
Well, not really, no. I mean, if you get... if, say, for example, you've written a book, and even if it's one or two people who've posted an Amazon review or just written on fanfiction.net saying that, your stories are absolutely great, I really love it, because that counts just as much as the thousands or the hundreds of people who've written reviews and praise feedback on something else.
Yeah, I know, because I wrote a review of something that happened in Congleton a year or two ago, and it was published in the Chronicle.
Yeah.
And somebody came up to me the other day and said, you're the guy who wrote that review, aren't you? I said, might be. Not wanting to admit to anything in case it was a bad one, Yeah. And they said, a friend of mine, he keeps looking at that, he thinks it's wonderful. And I thought, that made me feel quite warm and fuzzy inside. Just to know that you actually touched someone and you actually just made someone's life a little better. Yeah. It's surprising how much that means to you.
It is. It's a great feeling indeed. I mean, shortly after I got story published in the Chronicle and the Mac Express, back when it first came out, I was serving customers, quite a few customers at W.H. Smith in Macclesfield.
Yes.
And quite a few, several people actually saying, hey, you've published that book, you've written it out, haven't you? And I said, yeah, I have. And said, it's great, it's absolutely terrific. So glad to hear it, well done, hope it's doing all right.
I know, it's lovely when that happens.
It is lovely,
really is.
The feedback is great, but at the same time, as good as it is to hear have positive feedback from people, constructive criticism from people is just as important. I mean, in the case of when I was first writing for Saviour, it was important that I sat down with my dad, just someone to refer to, someone to say, hey, what did you like, what you didn't like, and he told me up front what he liked and what he didn't like, and it was a great discussion that ultimately helped the book become better as it did. And it's the same with any poetry that I write. I mean, it's great to have feedback from John Lindley, the 2004 Cheshire Poet Laureate.
Yeah, but one of the things that I noticed is that you sometimes... I found it difficult in the early days to actually show other people what I'd done. And once you can get over that and you accept that people are going to either love it or hate it, or, you know, it's not so bad, but you have to get used to showing people. It's a tricky thing.
Well, exactly, that's the thing. I mean, in the case of the biggest fear is always, oh, what if people don't like it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're writing it in the first place, and you're going to write it with the intent to one day maybe get it on the shop shelves and for other people to have a look at. So
you've got to show it sometime.
You've got to go it all the way, really. Yeah. And the thing is, even if you have people who say they didn't like it, or say that, well, it's okay, but it needs work here, 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 here. It's stuff that even though you may not want to hear it, you have to hear it in order to know where you're going wrong, and for it ultimately to become a better piece of work in the end.
Yeah, that's quite right. Should we play another song?
Yeah, definitely.
Allman Brothers, Killers or Motorhead?
Ooh, I think it might have to be Ace of Spades with Motorhead.
Ace of Spades.
Long live the young ones, and Motorhead themselves, incidentally.
All right, here we go. This is Motorhead, Ace of Spades. We'll be back with Dan in a few.